Well, good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, depending on where you are in the world. And welcome to our One Heart, One Earth Global Healing Summit for June 2020. This is our third summit since the global event occurred in March. And we are now deep into presentations in this particular summit. I can't believe it's the middle of day 2. And for everybody who's joining on the live, I see you guys joining in. Please feel free to share your comments and questions on the live chat that's on the right-hand side of your screen. And on the left-hand side of your screen, or just below the video on the mobile app, please click subscribe to the Buddhist Biohacker. We are going to hit 1,000 subscribers through this summit so we can get our community page, and we are at 400. So we're almost halfway there. So the more subscribers we get, the better. If you have not yet registered for One Heart, One Earth, you can do that at oneheartoneearth.net. And if you love what you are seeing, you can purchase lifetime access for a one-time fee. And we have a special going on during this summit. You can actually purchase all the content from April, May, and June. That's 111 hours of content. That's a lot of awakenings for only $99. And that money goes to continuing this effort, continuing the ability for us to move forward with the work that all of us are doing collectively to create this community of light. Also, don't forget that Buddhist Biohacker is taking a stand against violence. We are asking that everyone wear gold. We have some gold ribbons in process. We have a t-shirt in process, so stay tuned for that. But if you have the chance to wear gold, it represents a new reality. It represents unification and compassion. It is so important during this time that we do not divide or separate, and that instead we unify all races, all genders, all belief systems, all religions. And His Holiness the Dalai Lama called for 7 billion people on the planet Earth to generate bodhicitta and gave the Avalokiteshvara empowerments. Those links are up on my Instagram at Buddhist Biohacker. Those links will also be up on the One Heart, One Earth site shortly today. Actually, they're going up there today. If you'd like to take your refuge vows with the Dalai Lama as your guru, he is doing that live on YouTube, you guys. Pretty big deal. So with all of that said, I am so happy to have with us Anna Downing. Anna, welcome.
Hello, thank you so much.
Yes, I'm so excited. And it's time for our next presentation. And again, I see you guys joining in the live. Feel free to write your comments and questions. And I'm going to hand it over to Anna. Thank you, Anna, and enjoy, everyone.
Thank you. All right, let me share my screen. Welcome. Welcome to the Holy Trinity of Sustainability Magic in the Cycles and Rhythms of Life. I'm so glad you're joining me here today. In this segment, we'll explore how the web of life, the ongoing cycles and rhythms of nature relate to sustainability. And also, we'll explore ways to harmonize with these rhythms to support ourselves amidst change, uncertainty, and growth. My name is Anna Downing, and in addition to my work in the world as a life coach and psychic, helping folks get clarity and a fresh sense of flow in their life, I'm also a master gardener. And the topic of sustainability is of particular interest to me. Here's some pretties from my garden. First, I'd like to start off with some logistics, quick logistics. The moderator will type any questions you have into the chat. Feel free to put them there. And after this video is uploaded to YouTube and MeWe, the questions will be posted there and I will be responding to them on that platform, those platforms. Also, I have a number of tremendous resources I'm going to share with you here during the course of this presentation. So feel free to have your phone ready or make screenshots of whatever captures your interest. I love this image that Lisa created or found or co-created. As we know, we're not separate from nature. And as of this time, there is no other planet that we can survive on. This is home. And no one knows sustainability better than Mother Nature, and there is much that we can learn from her. This presentation is designed to help us embrace, appreciate, and utilize the cycles of nature for our own personal well-being and, of course, that of the planet. If you were willing, I'd like you to consider this question in a whole body fashion. So if you are willing, with me out loud, get a good hum on, something like this. Hmm. Hmm. And while in the midst of a good I invite you to float this question. I wonder how I can enjoy harmony with the cycles and rhythms of nature. Yum. We're going to take a look at create, sustain, and destroy. These are cycles I knew innately in terms of my gardening, but when these were named, I faced into them as part of a larger context, and I had a richer, deeper understanding of them as appearing everywhere all through life. And when I learned that the topic of this summit this month was sustainability, I knew I wanted to share more about this. I wanted to learn more about it myself and to share more. And in preparation, I had conversations with some colleagues and put together a lot of this content just for this presentation. As you can see from this slide, that create is one part of a larger cycle. Excuse me, sustain. I want to focus here on sustaining for a moment. Sustainability is not just sustaining, it's part of a larger cycle, and the whole of the cycle is necessary for true sustainability, planetary sustainability. What's true is that all of us are already masters of create, sustain, and destroy. Whether we know it or not, we are already masterful. Since we are nature, on some level, we know this cycle intimately, and we know it through our breath cycle, through cell regeneration, for example, the cycles of day and night, and of course, the cycles of the seasons. Our bodies already know all of this information. If you're willing, I'd like you to take a breath with me now, a particular kind of breath, and I'll walk you through it. And in this breath, I'd like you to take a longer, slower, deeper inhalation than usual. And at the top of the inhalation, let it roll over into the exhale organically. And on that exhale, longer, slower than usual. And at the bottom of the exhale, when you run out of air, pause there for a moment, if you would, holding your breath out, waiting to feel that impulse to inhale again. And when you do, go ahead and take that next inhalation. I invite you to practice this breathing from time to time for a period of time, a minute or two. It helps to reset the pH of your blood, so supports your health. And it also is such an exquisite attunement to the cycles of create, sustain, and destroy, all there in one breath or several breaths. Next, we're going to consider the cycles of create, sustain, and destroy. And for those of you who really like to go for it, who like to take that extra credit part of the ride, while we're looking at these cycles, consider asking yourself these questions. So within each cycle, we'll take a look at what it looks like, that is how it manifests, what resistance looks like, and strategies for ease. And here in creating, it looks like starting something new, building, baking, planting, inventing, writing, imagining, designing, initiating, and the season of spring. Resistance to creating can look like trouble getting started, fear of failure or success, too much concern about what other people think of what you're doing, or who you are, even. Rationalizing like, oh, I don't have enough information, I better read more books first, or go back and get another degree. One of my personal favorites is to do the fun part of a project, which for me is going out and gathering the supplies. And then I hit that spot where going into the next part about utilizing all those supplies and getting with the program, that's where my favorite speed bump. Other ways of resisting creating can look like resisting resting, staying super busy, hanging on to control, and resisting messiness. Here are some strategies for ease with creating. Underschedule yourself so that you have the space to receive impulses. Consider a new start an experiment. Gently remind yourself that what other people think of you is none of your business. Observe your ideas coming and going and notice what sparks you. Feel into what inspires you to action. And freely brainstorm outside the box. Here's some expansive information about brainstorming. In the March-April 2018 issue of the Harvard Business Review, Hal Gregerson, this handsome dude here, executive director of the MIT Leadership Center and author of the article Better Brainstorming, suggests that to make brainstorming more effective, brainstorm questions rather than answers. He says, brainstorming for questions makes it easier to venture into uncharted territory. And he also says, learn to ask really good questions. And I would add to that, ask the kinds of questions that you want to experience the answers to. Think of a really good question as a request of the universe. So for example, I might ask, rather than asking, so here's what I wouldn't ask. I wonder why I can't get comfortable speaking publicly. And I might transform that into something that I want to have an experience of by asking, I wonder how I can enjoy speaking in public. If you would like an additional resource around creating, this book is a delightful read. Reading it gave me a much wider sense of what creating is. It also I gave myself, as a result of reading it, a lot more permission to create and to let go of evaluating myself in the process. Sustain. What it looks like is parenting, watering the garden, building maintenance, running a marathon, and the season of summer. In sustaining, we keep things going, but of course, unending sustaining is not sustainable. I cannot work out all day, and at least here in North America, we cannot have summer all year round, and unending economic growth is not sustainable. Here's what resistance looks like, and your style might be a little different. Resisting sustaining can look like feeling overwhelmed, feeling defeated, giving up, rushing to complete, skipping over, premature endings. And here are some strategies for ease with sustaining. First, a really big one, a big invitation. An invitation for myself, for you if you're interested, and for the whole culture, our culture here in the US, is to end our cultural agreement to glorify sustaining. You know, to glorify it over other cycles, like it's the most important. I'm talking about that whole endure to the end and rewarding people for working too hard, you know, putting that up on a pedestal like it's a great thing. Also, the just try harder mentality. So, some other strategies for ease with sustain are recognizing that sustain is part of a larger cycle. Also, seeing course corrections as part of the process. Also, tuning into what's needed in the moment and being willing to accept what's happening in the now. Developing the ability to respond, that is to say, response agility. Developing awareness of the smaller cycles of create, sustain, destroy within a larger cycle of sustaining. Hiring help and delegating, two of my favorites. Also consciously choosing. And here's what that might look like. So rather than my saying, I'm going to clean the house now, I might consciously choose in this way, saying, right now I choose to clean for 30 minutes, and then I'm going to check back in. Meaning check in to see if that wave has passed and I'm ready to do something else, or if I'd like to continue sustaining cleaning. Consider some new ways to bring novelty or freshness to sustaining. That's a great strategy. A friend of mine who's very into fitness brings novelty into her movement practice by different forms of movement, practicing at different times of day, adding music, and doing movement in different locations. If you are one of those folks that get stuck in sustaining or overworking, this book is for you. This book opened my eyes to the necessity of the necessity of time not working to add vitality and energy and focus to the time that I am. And destroy. It looks like deconstruction, weeding, pruning, decluttering spaces and decluttering schedules, death, the season of autumn, and completions of all kinds, like doing the dishes, putting away the clean laundry, and filing taxes. We are all in a pretty hefty cycle of destroy culturally right now, with a lot changing. I think folks that are waiting for things to return to normal may be disappointed. Have you possibly been hearing folks saying that normal is gone and something else is emerging? I have. Astrologers suggest there's still more change coming. And generally, we humans don't particularly love to hang out in the unknown or deal with the uncertainty of change. We also don't necessarily, at least in this Northern America continent, we're not big on embracing the cycle of destroy. Later, we'll look at ways to support our nervous system through change and uncertainty. Here's what resistance to this cycle might look like. See if your style is like this, or perhaps something a little different. Pushing, pressure, like drinking more coffee, more caffeine, that might be one of mine, or is one of mine. Resisting destroying by hanging out in sustain. Going foggy, getting busy, distracting yourself, fear of uncertainty or loss, skipping over and going back into creating, prolonging, procrastinating, not completing communications or activities, and ruminating. And here in the strategies for ease, I have another one of those big cultural invitations. An invitation for myself, for you perhaps, if you're interested, and an invitation for the culture at large to take the concept of failure out of destroy. When we're addicted to sustaining, we can see the cycle of destroy as failure. Some people so favor create and sustain that they just kind of hang out in those two cycles and skip over destroy altogether. Of course, until the universe invites that cycle in unbidden. So other strategies for ease with destroy are making friends with endings, making friends with messiness, transition, change, uncertainty, and death. Another strategy for destroy is to take really good care of your nervous system and make full completions with activities and communications, and honoring endings as part of the cycle. As you can imagine, it's pretty hard, it might be hard to get some flow going, some water flowing through this gutter until the leaves are removed. And the cycle of destroy is the removal of the leaves so that a fresh flow can come through. Here are some common areas that folks leave complete. I've done all of these and more. Communications, projects, relationships, stuff, and chores. And here are the juicy and enlivening benefits of making completions. Freeing up your energy and intuition. Better sleep. More peace of mind. Being available to the moment, and more easeful relationships. For those of you who avoid completions in any form, and particularly in communications and in relationships, this book is for you. Dr. Hendricks took ideas that seemed radical to me. Oh, logistic. I have an elderly cat who sometimes makes a lot of noise. Dr. Hendricks took these ideas that seemed radical to me at first glance and made them really practical and accessible and even inviting I also became more courageous as a result of reading this book. Highly recommend it. And for those of you, if there are any of you who avoid making completions with your stuff and your home, this book is for you. The book itself feels spacious, and every page is spacious. And reading it invited me into a new relationship with my own space and stuff. So there we have create, sustain, and destroy. But wait, there's more. There is an often forgotten cycle. A cycle I'll call fallow or pause. Pause looks like just being, watching the grass grow, watching the birds, receiving a massage, sleep, meditating, resting, and in the seasons, it is winter. Pause at any time of year looks like rest. Hey, I think she'd like to pause. Pausing and resting is a critical aspect of growth. When resisting fallow, we may experience restlessness, jumping to the next thing, judgments around productivity and value, going unconscious, jumping into a rebound relationship, resisting the unknown, avoiding making contact with yourself, and pushing. And strategies for ease in this cycle. Another big cultural invitation, drum roll, please. This is an invitation for me and for you, if you're interested, and for the US culture at large, is to take lazy out of pause. Here in the US, where we most highly value the cycles of create, sustain, and reward those folks who do that, are expressing that in the world, fallow often doesn't get much attention or much respect. But in other parts of the world, it is more, it's included in the bigger picture and honored and respected as part of the big picture. Pause. Here are some strategies for ease with pause. Giving yourself permission to rest and do nothing. To reframe nothing is happening as a support for keeping interest alive. Meditate. Meditate on the void or on no thingness. Listen deeply. Get extra sleep, particularly in the wintertime. Enjoy the rich luxuriousness of pause. A dear friend of mine likes to say, a lot is happening when it looks like nothing is happening. Erica Schreiber, partner at Conscious Leadership Group, put it this way. Fallow is the space between death and birth, ending and new beginnings, harvesting and planting. It's a period of being with or as no thing and no doing. The pause at the bottom of the exhale. It's a space after grieving, and releasing. It's a time to be with or as silence, stillness, darkness. She also says, in my experience, when we listen well and surrender to this time and space, there is a knowing, or more precisely, a calling that invites us into whatever most wants to come next. For those of you for whom the pause muscle is not one that you use much, this book includes 52 ways to expand your capacity to pause. And now for a couple of fun photos of cycles within cycles. Here we have a spent blossom and some buds amidst currently blooming flowers in the cycle of sustain. And another such of some roses in my front yard. Sustainability is possible when all parts of the cycles and rhythms are included. No part is expendable to sustainability. This is how nature works with these 4 rhythms and cycles and how they merge into one another. Life is easier when I align myself with these and consciously choose to move between them. Waiting for the universe to push me into the next one may not be my friendliest path. We all have preferences, of course, between these cycles. And if you are willing, ask yourself this delicious wonder question. It's kind of a whole body thing. I wonder how I can gain mastery within each cycle. In the next slide, I'm going to toss some ideas around exploring the cycles. And if you're willing, what I'd like you to do is to kind of scan them. And without thinking about them a lot, just check in with yourself and notice where you feel some attraction of going toward, or where you feel some, oh, not that. For those of you who would love a resource to very beautifully play with all the cycles of life, and as an added bonus feature, develop your intuition, this deck is for you. This photograph is of a physical deck, but you can get this deck as an app on Google Play or the Apple App Store. The name is Self-Discovery with a hyphen. And make sure you look for the one that has these 3 spirals. I personally know the artist and creator Nancy Vogt, and this deck is beautiful. Oh, I might weep here. It's beautiful. It wows me daily. wows me daily and invites me into a sacred and effortless relationship with myself and with nature. So we've looked at what resistance looks like in all of the 4 cycles. I'd like you to consider the possibility that resistance is a fancy word for scared. Master Coach Audrey Hayscamp says, fear is a sign you are likely somewhere new. We're certainly heading into some new territory. Sometimes we're afraid of something specific, right? Like the proverbial, this guy doesn't have saber teeth, but I don't know how many times I've heard about fight or flight, fear, the manifestations of fear, of fight or flight, explained as a human being chased by a saber-toothed tiger. For most of us, though, most of the time, fear is much more subtle. As humans navigating uncertainty and evolutionary change on the planet, sometimes fear is not personal and it's not about anything. It doesn't have to be a big deal. Fear can be a signal of growth and expansion. The ongoing energy of fear can contribute to exhaustion and stress and can get in the way of creativity and our rest and so much more. So if you are willing, I'd like to invite you right now into an experience that supports the shifting from fear and the metabolizing of the biochemistry of fear in our bodies. Some movement. And I'm likely going to move mostly right here so that I'm still in view. But if you're willing, I invite you to bring some gentle, exploratory, friendly movement to your body. It could look vigorous like it does for some of these people in the slide, but it doesn't have to be that vigorous. Use your whole body. And I invite you to move in ways that are outside of your typical kinds of movements. You can move your face too. When I'm scared, I'm likely not breathing or moving. And I would bet money the same is probably true for you. So while you are moving in this way, add some breath. Bring a little deeper, more pleasurable, longer inhalation and exhalation. Make sure your hips are moving as well, maybe toes and fingers. When moving in this way to support the shift from your fear brain pattern to a creative, friendly, available fear pattern, I suggest, not fear pattern, I'm talking about the aspects of your brain. So the fear brain and the more available brain or aspects of your nervous system. When you're moving from the fear to the creativity more available, I invite you to do this kind of movement for 2, 3, 4 minutes, adding your breath and adding the breath and adding also vocalization if you're willing. make any kinds of sounds. Mm. You could sing or talk in a funny voice or just make general sounds or create in some way, express through your creativity if that's what calls to you the most. I'm feeling a big wave of aliveness from breathing and moving and expressing. Woo. Under my chair, I've got my legs continuing to do this movement. Mm. Yum. If you would like more support, moving out of fear and into choice and connection, well-being, and a whole lot more, this website is for you. This is the web address, and I have put in some spaces for ease of reading it, but there are no spaces in the web address. When you go to this website, look for the Restoring Resourcefulness program. It's chock full of resources and it's free. I studied with Dr. Kathleen Hendricks, who is the primary organizer of this material here, along with her husband, Dr. Gay Hendricks, and both of whom founded this organization years ago. I studied with them for over 15 years and find every resource of their, oops, may cry again. Flow. I find every okay, take a moment. Feelings. I find every resource of theirs profoundly impactful, applicable, and transformational. Actual teardrop. Momentito. I had not thought of tissues as part of my preparedness for this presentation. It's the real me, 24/7. I'm grateful for your company here and invite you to take wonderfully good care of yourself as part of your sustainability practice. If in this moment you would like some reminders of some self-care moves, here are a few. Take a bath, time in nature, gardening, creative expression, whatever it is you love to do, movement, music, downtime, contact with the earth, meditating, hiking, and enjoying the company of like-minded folks. And if you are challenged in the self-care department, this class might benefit you. It's taught by Reverend Suzanne Hunt, and in it you'll learn a dynamic meditation for managing your energy, taking good care of yourself, and as an added bonus, developing your intuition. This is my contact information, which you can find on my profile page. It's available in a number of places. Appreciation is a practice of sustaining, enriching, and enlivening relationships. And here I'm appreciating some of the folks who collaborated with me in tech support and content for this presentation. And of course, also for gratitude for Lisa and all of those making the One Heart, One Earth venture possible. Thank you for joining me on this journey exploring the cycles and rhythms of nature. Harmony with nature is key to personal and planetary sustainability. Thank you so much.
I'm hopping on unexpectedly. That was so beautiful, Anna.
Thank you.
There were so many incredible resources, and it's just wonderful. And we had some really beautiful comments from the audience. What a rich and beautiful way to experience life more fully. Wonderful resources too. This is excellent. Thank you for this presentation. We had I'm delighting in this sharing, Anna. Thank you. So I just wanted to share those with you because thank you guys so much for all of the folks who are watching live, and really beautiful. And if you're watching the replay, for all of you, live or replay, you can go back to these slides, which is really great. So we can write down some of those books, which I know I will be. And you can also get all of Anna's information on her facilitator page on One Heart, One Earth as well. And just thank you so much, Anna. That was really, really wonderful. Really wonderful.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. I'm honored.
Absolutely, for sure. So much love to you. So much love to everyone out there. And we'll be back at 3 o'clock to learn about balcony gardening, which I don't know about you, but I definitely need some support in that area. So, all right. Bye-bye.
Bye.